For me, picture perfect involves some holy moments, things like the birth of a child or holding a grandchild for the very first time. They look up at you with those wide eyes and you're wondering what their lives will be like, or standing on a mountain in central Mexico and seeing thousands, tens of thousands of monarchs spill off an oil mill tree when a shaft of sunlight hits them. So this is a story about one of those special picture-perfect holy moments. Back in 1986, my wife and I, Sylvia and I, lived in Tanta, Egypt in the middle of the Nile Delta. And we left our 2-year-old son with our friend Judy and took an extended weekend and took the train into Cairo. And then we got the overnight bus from Cairo to Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. In 1986, Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt was just this tiny little village on a long curving beach. Down at the right end of the beach, at the very far end, was a hotel. I think maybe it had 20 rooms in it or something. And then along the beach were different tents that you could rent to sleep in. If you go to Sharm el-Sheikh, I understand it's very different now, but in 1986, it was a sleepy little place. And the bus drops you off. This was November. The bus dropped us off there on the beach, and the sun was just coming up over the cliffs that were on the east end of the beach. And we had heard from friends that if you take a little path, a little walking path, and you climb up over the cliff, you'll get to the best snorkeling. So we set our bags down. We had our bags for being a couple days there. We set them down on that little beach there at Sharm el-Sheikh and went for a quick swim, saw a fish as big as me, purple and blue and green, thought, wow, this is wonderful. Saw a little coral in the white sand. And then we carried all our bags and we took that little path up over the cliff. Not sure we were always on the path. We got up over the cliff and back down to the water. And there the coral has formed what's called a bench. So if about 100 feet going straight out from the beach, the coral has made this bench or shelf, and the water is about 1.5 feet or 2 foot deep. And then you get out to the very end. And so you're swimming out over this coral, trying not to brush against it. We didn't know much about snorkeling, but we knew that some of the coral was poisonous. So you're swimming out over this coral and looking down and seeing these very beautiful little fish and big fish swimming. And then you get out to the very end and you start to hit the swells and they lift you up and down just a little bit. And then you get to the very edge of the shelf and you go straight out and you look down and there's nothing below you. It's the closest to flying that I will ever have in my life. You're swimming along this crystal clear water. The sun's coming in at an angle and you're looking down, 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 and you don't see the bottom. And you turn around, and when you're snorkeling, you got your mask on. And so your vision's a little bit limited. So you turn around and you look back at the reef and you see this wall of coral and fish going down, down, down. And you're like a bird. And you can go down a bit as long as you can hold your breath, and then you'll come popping back up to the surface. It was amazing and it was wonderful. We were out there, I don't know how long we were there, maybe a half hour, maybe 45 minutes. And because you're like this and you can't see behind you, there is a little fear of what's behind you because you really can't see. So I'm swimming along like this, and every so often I turn around just to check that Sylvia was okay, that she's still there, and I could hear her splashing. And I'm looking, and then I see 2 sharks, 2 of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen in my life. The sun was coming through the water, and there are these powerful, I don't know how to describe them. They're muscle, they're all muscle, but they're all grace. And they're just coming through the water, and you can hardly see that they're moving at all. And yet they're going through the water, and you're looking and saying, wow. It was one of those picture perfect holy moments. I just hung there, and then I thought, I wonder if Sylvia's seen them. So I go up to the surface, spit out my snorkel, and I say, Sylvia, Sylvia, sharks, sharks. I put my snorkel down, I go back, I'm just hanging in the water. I'm just watching these. They're just going along. It's incredible. And then after a while, I thought, did Sylvia hear me? So I turn around 360 degrees and there's no Sylvia. I'm like, where did she go? So I go up and I wear glasses, so my eyesight's not real good without my glasses, but I can see her. She's way off on the beach. She's jumping up or down, waving her arms like crazy. And I'm thinking, what is wrong? Did she see somebody coming stealing our bags? It's our money, it's our passport. How are we going to get back to Cairo? And she just, hurry. And so I swim in as fast as I can. There's obviously something wrong, and I'm swimming in, and I'm not as careful as I should have been. And I hit one of those fire coral, we'll call them. They look like horns of an elk. I hit them right on my left thigh. It feels like 20 bee stings all just at once. I come staggering up out of the water. I'm like, honey, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she looks at me with that look that in our 41 years of marriage, I've seen more than once. It's like, are you kidding? Are you being obtuse? Or are you just plain simple? And she said in that very patient voice, Daryl, there are sharks out there. And I was, honey, I know there are sharks out there. I'm the one that told you. Well, we never did find out if the sharks were dangerous or not. We heard different opinions. The fire coral, the burn, it went away after a day or two, but I still have that picture perfect, watching those two wonderful creatures in their environment going through the water. Thank you.